Morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's just up in front. This is episode 201 of Tottenham Walks. Please do me a favour, as I wish you health and happiness. Hit the like button for me like you always do. Hit the subscribe button for me if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. Look, guys, I didn't do a video yesterday because I tried. I went out for like an hour walk and I tried to get as much of the analysis of the game done, but there was so much to talk about. The terrible start, the worst finish, the in-between period, the fantastic comeback, individual players that need to be chastised, others that should be praised, refereeing decisions, VAR, Ryan Mason, tactics, substitutions. I have kind of like Jekyll and Hyde opinions on all of them, you know. I'll take Romero, for example. I'm not singling him out. This is just an example of how I sort of saw that game. You could make the argument that he was responsible, at least not entirely responsible, but have significant influence in all four of the goals. First goal, his positional play was atrocious. He got ahead of Luis Diaz, which left Pedro Porro with no option but to get sucked in. The ball then gets put over the top. You could make the argument that Porro's positional awareness was poor. He didn't know that Curtis Jones was over his shoulder. But I think Romero started that ball rolling by stepping in front of Diaz, which was madness. Second goal, he wasn't touch tight to Diaz at all. When the ball gets pulled back, he was, 4 or 5 feet away from him. Unforgivable. Fraser Foster should have done better, getting beaten at the near post, and it was a good finish, but didn't need to put ourselves in that position. The third goal, obviously he gives away the penalty by sliding in unnecessarily rash. You just don't need to do that in the box. Paolo Maldini always said, right, if you're a defender and you go and you're making a tackle, you've already made a mistake, or something to those words. Although, of course, on every one of those goals, there's other justifications why it's not entirely his fault. Like obviously with the third one, Eric Dyer, what was he doing with the anticipatory, ridiculous, step up, unnecessary? That probably confused and drew Romero into doing something similar. So nothing was entirely his fault, but all three of those goals were in no small part down to him. And the fourth goal as well, obviously Lucas Moura made the mistake, but you could make the argument that Romero should have been aware that Moura's playing out of position and try to be on his toes, try to communicate with him, be more comfortable and take care of the situation. Even when the back pass was made, he was slow to react to it. Again, not all his fault. And this isn't just a criticism of him, because the point I was making was that you could criticise his defensive work, but throughout the other period of the game, from the 16th minute or whatever it was to the 93rd, his abilities on the ball were spectacular. Getting forward, he almost scored a goal. He hit the post. He did a fantastic through pass. I think that was for Sonny's goal. He made 2 or 3 other really important passes during the game, got us out of problems, and started the moves that ended up with other people getting assists or getting key passes. So, it leads me to put something out there. Listen, I'm not a football coach. I'm not someone who's ever developed a player, so I don't know if this is even feasible. And if it's not, let me know, and I won't mention it again. But I'm curious whether or not Romero would be better fit as a number 6. That monster number 6, that Polinia, that Ugarte, that Casemiro type. Would he be a better player to do that? Because he is so comfortable on the ball technically. He does like to slide in. He usually gets his tackles, the timing of them, pretty good 80% of the time. But I'm just not entirely convinced that his decision-making, his positional awareness, his composure, morning guys, and his anticipation, skill sets are not spectacularly good. I know the argument is being made, I hear it all the time, and I've made it before, that you can't really judge him until you put him around players that are higher quality. And maybe that is a fair argument, a fine argument. And we'll have to focus on that in the summer. But You know, for me, I think that he is just as much a liability at the moment, consistently, as some of the other guys at centre-back. Eric Dyer, yes, on Sunday should have been hooked after 20 minutes. His confidence was absolutely shattered. You know, he needed to kind of save the team, save himself from himself. And also, I think you need to send a message and say that you can't keep rewarding these performances with staying on the pitch and then starting the next game. You know, there has to be some level of consequence. Otherwise, it comes across like it's nepotism over meritocracy. I know we don't have anyone at the moment that, you know, can step in and do better. But you could have put Longley into the middle and played Ben Davies at left centre-back. I don't know. At some point, Eric Dyer, you know, has to face some level of consequence, I feel. His confidence is shot. Speaking of how we improve that, how do we get players around Romero for, you know, next season to see if he's really as good as we think he is? Because question marks are definitely out there on him. A couple of transfer news bits today out for the centre-backs. Max Kilman from Wolves, 25 years old, I believe. 193, so about 6'2", 6'3". Very competent defender. I like him. Wolves have had a bit of a weird season. They started out the season being incredibly difficult to break down. As the season's gone on, I don't know what's happened there. I don't, you know, watch their story with too much intricate detail, but I would say that they have... One second. Sorry about that. Hopefully the noise is gone. Max Kilman is look, a good player. He's a left-footed player, plays on the left side of the centre-back, somewhere that we need. He can play in a 4 with Wolves, and he can play in a back 3. He's a very good player, right? But I don't know if he is really... He's better than what we have, but is he, you know, going to take us to the next level? I don't think so. The links are out there suggesting that Tottenham are looking at him. I think he's got an extra year or 2 on his contract, so I think it will cost probably 30 million, 35 million to get him away from Wolves, which, you know, would be a large slice of the budget. For me, it's not a sexy enough name. It's not something that I really... He'll be a solid player, like a, you know, he's someone that would be shoring us up. But is he really the player that's going to take us to anything like the next level? I don't believe so. So I'd have him on the list, but I wouldn't be angry if we signed him, but I wouldn't necessarily be too excited. Let me know your thoughts. A player that I am very much interested in, Tottenham scouts were seen at the Lyon game away at Strasbourg on, I think it was Wednesday night or Thursday night of last week, to watch, or maybe it was on the weekend, to watch their Lyon's left-sided centre-back, Castello Lukeba, 20-year-old French centre-back. He's been 2 seasons now playing for Lyon. The first player in Lyon's history, first centre-back in Lyon's history since 1960 to score 2 goals in 2 consecutive seasons. A very, very, very competent player. I really like this guy. He's fast. He's very good in the air. I love his anticipation, his ability to, morning mate, his ability to read the game, know when to step up and time the tackles perfectly. The dispossession, the ground duels is so far advanced for his age. His ability to put long balls out from the left-hand side is fantastic. He plays in a back 3 as well. Like I say, he's fast, he's good in the air. He pops up with a couple of goals here and there. Really, really good player. Now, on the day against Strasbourg, he actually scored a goal and then got sent off for a double yellow card offence a couple of days ago. The first one, I think, was a little bit harsh. He put his hand out and it caught the guy in the face when he was trying to shield the player. I don't think that was necessarily a deliberate foul. I think it was an accident, but he got a yellow card for it. And the second one was late on. Strasbourg were breaking and he kind of just pulled the player back and slowed him down. So a bit of a kind of take one for the team, a tactical second yellow. But I don't know how that's going to go down with the scouts. You know, they're going to be impressed with his performance. Was good on the night, very good. And the fact that he got a goal is obviously something that you can add to the feather in the cap kind of thing, the list of of pros to add to the player. But for me personally, it's not about those sort of attributes. For me, it's his, I think his anticipation, his ability to read the game, his positional awareness, and it looks like he's got really, really high concentration skills, which, as I say, I feel like at the moment are not things that you can testify or give as testament to people like Christian Romero or Eric Dyer or Clement Longley. And they're skill sets that are incredibly important, attributes that, you know, that are kind of intangibles that make the difference between the good and the very good, or the good and the great. I don't know if he's going to be a great player. He's still very obviously wet behind the ears. He's only been around for a couple of years, but the fact that Tottenham are looking at him, I think other clubs are looking at him as well. If we were to go and get him, I'd be really excited. I don't know what the, you know, I think that maybe 25 million quid, something like that, would probably be enough to tempt the hand of Leon. Whether he'd come straight in and be a starter, I don't know. Whether we'd go for him and then also complete the signing of Clement Longley as well to, you know, to give that kind of reassurance and the stability in the back line, I don't know. Also, you know, you can make the argument that Tottenham shouldn't really be making any decisions around players right now until we know what manager's playing for us and who the director of football is. And I totally understand that point. It doesn't mean that we can't be going and, you know, taking the advice of the scouts and taking good hard looks at the players that are coming up. Because if you snooze, you lose. And we might be seeing that right now with Manuel Ugarte. I thought that Tottenham were top of the list, top of the shortlist to go and maybe make that deal happen with Sporting. But, you know, over the last week or so, it looks like Liverpool have stolen a march, similar to what they did with Luis Diaz. You know, so frustrating affairs. Again, this is down to Daniel Levy for not having plan Bs in place with regards the directors of football and with regards to the management. We've had long enough now to be, you should be in the position where we're starting to make headway. On that news, we did see yesterday that Scott Munn, who doesn't officially start with Tottenham until July the 1st, was seen at London City Airport with Daniel Levy, and we don't know where he was going, but we looked at, like, people on Twitter were looking at the flights that were departing, and it looks like he was going back to Germany. The guys, the Ben and Sim were telling me that they have a source that was saying that Scott Munn had been in Germany twice in the previous 2 weeks as well. So, you know, whether they're going over there to look at, you know, one of the destinations on the airport was Frankfurt, whether they were going over to look at Endika or Kamada from Frankfurt, whether they were looking at actually the manager at Frankfurt, or whether they were going somewhere else in Germany to maybe try and speak to the agents of Julian Nagelsmann. You know, we don't know. We don't know any of the details yet. But what I do find interesting is that Scott Munn is supposed to be on gardening leave until July the 1st. And remember, he's technically employed by Manchester City's outfit, you know, the City Group, City Football Group. So I wonder if him being spotted in an airport with Daniel Levy, when he's technically not supposed to have started until July the 1st, might get us in some hot water with Manchester City. Who knows? We'll find out. There's not a day that goes by that there's not some more drama surrounding Tottenham Hotspur. Other transfer news just to reel off to you guys is James Ward-Prowse and James Maddison still being spoken about, very highly rated by apparently people at Tottenham Hotspur, as well as Manchester United, as well as Newcastle. Both of those teams, Leicester and Southampton, are, you know, looking like strong candidates to go down. I think Southampton pretty much will go down now, and it's, you know, a two-horse race between four teams probably. Leicester, Everton, Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. You can maybe bring West Ham back into it. They're only a few points ahead. So it's an interesting final few games for the relegation teams. But look, there's good players available for any of those teams. You look at, you know, Southampton. I think James Ward-Prowse would be the obvious guy. Although you might want to go and get Bazunu, the goalkeeper. A lot of Tottenham fans, a lot of people generally rate their goalkeeper, Irish international. You could also look at Decore or Onana from Everton, Damari Gray. They've got a lot of great players there. I don't know how many of them will want to be playing Championship football next season. At Leicester, obviously, you've got Harvey Barnes and James Maddison that will be the two biggest picks. And at Forest, I'm not sure there's anyone there that Tottenham would probably be interested in. But yeah, the rumours are that James Ward-Prowse and James Maddison would both be available for somewhere between 40 and 50 million, depending on which one of those teams goes down, if any, or both. And there won't be won't be a short list of suitors for them because A, they've got the English tax, it helps with the homegrown numbers, but also they're talented players. You know, I think James Ward-Prowse has scored about 85 goals in 400 odd appearances, so about 1 in every 5 games he seems to get. Get on the score sheet. Obviously, he's incredibly talented from the set piece side of things, and Tottenham do draw a lot of free kicks in and around the area, so it wouldn't make, you know, it wouldn't be bad sense to go and get someone like him. But again, for me right now, I think we've got enough goals in us, guys. I do. I think we've got enough goals in us to be able to, you know, to deprioritise players at that end of the pitch, presuming that Harry Kane isn't going to throw in the towel and demand a transfer. And look, you know, talk about chalk and cheese night and day. That interview that we looked at that came out on Saturday night, where you could read into it and look at all the kind of the language, like the we's rather than you's or they's, and talking about the future, talking about how we're going to get ready for pre-season. I interpreted that as a guy who hopes to want to stay at Tottenham Hotspur. But then you compare that to the interview that he had with the same guy, Gavinson, from Sky Sports, straight after the Liverpool game, and look at the look on his face in some of those still shots, and you can see them on Twitter. He looks like a man that's just broken, and maybe the most recent interview is the one that we should take the steer from, and presume that he's had enough. You know, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I still think though that if I was a betting man, then I still think that Harry Kane will be here next season, and I hope that he'll be here the season after that. But time will tell. Could be wrong. I often am. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Who would you prefer? Maddison, James Ward-Prowse? Do you think either of them are priorities, especially if they're going to take up, you know, 50 million quid of the budget? The other thing I forgot to talk to you about was Ndombele. There's rumours that Tottenham are going to tear up his contract. That will cost an extra 20 million quid to do that. He's still got 2 years on his contract left at 10 million a pop. That is a £120 million mistake. £120 million mistake. 60 million to buy him, 60 million in wages, and we're going to pay him off to get him off the books. It's the cost. I was going to say it's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of doing bad business. Once again, the story of Tottenham Hotspur is not how much money we spend, it's how badly we spend it. Anyway, let me know. Would you like Max Kilman? Do you know much about Castello Lukeba? If you haven't, look him up. You know, if you've got the Y Scout tool, look up his best bits and his worst bits. Or go to YouTube, but you're only going to see the highlight reel there, which obviously is a, you know, it can misrepresent you. But for me personally, I think he's superb and fantastic. Just don't know whether Tottenham are going to take another risk on, you know, on an up and coming talent from France before they've seen whether he's the real deal, and don't want to kind of speculate a little bit on that stuff. Let me know, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, bye bye.